I've spent around 100 hours looking at heat maps in 2025 alone, and in this video I'm going to tell you all of the things I've learned from spending those long, fun hours looking at Microsoft Clarity. The things I hear from brands who are getting stuck into heat maps is that they understand how to use them, but they're not sure that they're looking at the right thing. So that's going to be one of the things that we address, and then I'll take you through the dashboard and the UI so you have a handle. It's not super complex, but it does help to have a bit of understanding on which things to use, which things to ignore. And then I'll take you through the two main processes that I use Microsoft Clarity and heat maps for when I'm looking for opportunities or problems. Should be a fun video. I'm excited, so let's do it. All right, let's get stuck into it. This should be fun. I'm going to start with the dashboard, take you around a couple of the things that I usually do when I first jump into Clarity. So the very first thing you should do is change the date filter from 3 days to at least 30 days. I like 30 days because it gives you a nice monthly picture of what's happening. If you're doing a lot of changes on your store, you don't want to set the filter too far back because you can kind of get overlapping patterns. But 30 days should give you a decent sample size of what's happening. So we're looking at one of my clients at the moment. It's a nice little store, gets around 180,000 views a month, including a bunch of bots. So what you'll see at the top of Clarity is when you look at the dashboard, I'll just do a super quick tour because this stuff is pretty basic. But you'll see your dashboard, which is great. This is where you come to check everything out. Don't go clicking on this one because it'll take you back to kind of like the main Clarity menu and pops you out of dashboard. Recordings, heat maps, and settings. You don't really need to play around with the settings. Heat maps and recordings are the two main ones, and dashboard gives you a good overview. So the panels, you have some overview stuff up here that's not super useful, to be honest. The insights are sometimes useful, but you have to take them with a grain of salt because the dead clicks can be triggered by things that aren't really dead clicks. So there's a lot of false positives that are reported back here. Same for excessive scrolling and quickbacks. Quickbacks sometimes can show you that things are happening, but often you'll see these really big numbers and it doesn't mean a whole lot, and like Clarity is misreporting, so don't stress too much. You can keep track of what you care about. I don't usually use this feature, but you can. What else have we got? Smart events are really handy for something that we'll talk about a little bit later, which is investigating when you don't really know what you're looking for. Funnels, I'm not going to do in this video, but funnels I do every time I start a new store, and I actually haven't been into Marshware to set up Microsoft Clarity, so I'm going to do that in my next video. And funnels they're super useful because it lets you set up the steps that customers go through on their purchase journey, and then you can look at the heat maps for each kind of level, it's one of the features I like the most about Clarity. So don't sleep on funnels, that's for sure. Now we're getting down into the good stuff. So referrer tells you where people are coming from. So campaign, source, and channel are the main ones here. What you'll find sometimes is your ad traffic, ad or like social media, external traffic that's driving to your website will have very different performances, and it can help to jump in and check out the heat maps and the session recordings to figure out why. Same for campaigns and channels. So channel will tell you like the biggest source where it's coming from, whether that's email or organic search or paid search. Campaigns you'll set up. So if you're running an ad campaign, the parameters will pull through and you'll be able to see specifically how that campaign is performing. And then sources, it's kind of like it's a similar metric to channel. So next is browsers, devices, operating systems. This is really good as well. You'll often find problems hiding between different browser versions if there's incompatibility, especially if you've got a lot of custom functionality on your site, because there'll be functions and methods within particular JavaScript libraries that aren't compatible with older browsers. Safari and Internet Explorer are notorious for this because they're always behind the 8 ball. So you'll spin up some kind of new custom animation, and you'll find if you look at these metrics that Safari just isn't showing it on older versions. So This is really good. I spent a lot of time in here. Performance overview again is like it can be okay if you know you have performance problems, but Clarity is not the best place to search for these things, so I usually don't use these ones at the bottom too heavily. Top pages is good though, and this is probably where we're going to start. So I mentioned before that there's like a couple of ways that you can use Clarity. One is when you know the problem you're looking for. The other is when you don't and you're just kind of investigating, trying to find signs that there might be an opportunity or there might be a problem. So you can reliably start on the top pages in both of those scenarios. For us and in this demonstration, I actually have something that I want to check out. So Maskwear are driving paid traffic to their collection page, which is a good idea. Not everyone knows what they want, and they know that Maskwear have great products, but they'd like to view the products. I'm not certain that the order that we have the products arranged in at the moment is ideal, and I'll show you why. So what I want to look at is the shop, the collection page, shop, men's shop all, sorry, jumping over my words. So all I have to do here is click on this little fire symbol next to this link, and what Clarity will do is it'll open up this filters component, and it will automatically put in some regex, or like a little bit of, it's essentially code that tells Clarity which URLs to return. So if you go through and have a look at how it's actually done it, you can see down here in the path, it's put down a filter for when customers have visited regex that matches this path, which is cool because then you don't have to go and like talk to ChatGPT to figure out how to write regex. I won't go through the rest of these filters at the moment because there's actually quite a lot to unpack here, but we might do that when we get on to the next bit. So we've got our page now, and you'll instantly notice one of the most annoying things about Clarity, which is that you can't see half of the content. It's actually a really easy thing to fix though. So all you need to do is click on this change screenshot button. This takes a second to render, but it should give you a bunch of different views to pick from. So this one, the images haven't rendered, so we don't want to pick that one. This one is the most common problem I see, and that's when the pop-up appears over the top of everything. This one looks fine, this one looks fine. I'm just going to pick this one because I actually know this one works. Cool. So now we've got around that problem, and we have our heat map displaying correctly. So the things to note on this page are that you've got 3 different heat maps to choose from. So we're going to have a look at tap to start with, and then I'll quickly jump into, actually, you know what? Yeah, we're going to jump into scrolling very, very shortly, and then into attention. So the thing that I want to know on this page is, are the products in the right order? And what I mean by that is, are the products that are most likely to sell up the top, or have we hidden them down the bottom, and are we losing customers before they get a chance to go and view those products? So what you see on every single page, on every single website, if you click on this scroll depth button over here that tells you how far people are scrolling down, Clarity will tell you over on the left here how far through the page the percentage of customers or the percentage of drop-off is. The correlation between how many customers drop off and how far down the page they scroll. So 52% of visitors, you get over half of the visitors drop off by the time they've scrolled 30% of the page. So for context, if I just zoom out a little bit so you can see where that is. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 products have displayed and 25% of visitors have disappeared. And then we get down here. So it's this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. So about 22 products before half of the visitors have gone, which is actually not too bad. Maskwear don't really have a problem with scroll depth, especially on this page. People tend to engage pretty well with collection pages, but still there's an opportunity to put more of the important products higher up the page. Looks like by the time you get down to the bottom, So by the time we get down to the last set of products, there's only around 15% of people who actually make it this far down. So there's an opportunity to push the good stuff right up the top. Let's just have a quick look at the attention map while we're here. So attention shows you where people are spending their time. So pretty much no one is spending their time hovering their cursor or like looking at the screen up the top. There's a lot of attention down here, and I'm not sure why. So we'll find out in a second. There could be like lazy loading or something on the page where this is a pagination spot. These products could be really important and people could be looking for them. So what have we got? Stackhouse, Tech Tee, and Snappy SS T-shirt. Could also be a false positive. So there's a little bit more warmth here, and then everything else is pretty cool. People are engaging down here. People are engaging down here. So, already we've got some interesting signs that part of these pages could be misorganized. In that if we push these products up higher, they might do better. So I'm just going to jump back over to the tap view to see if there's strong engagement down on those products. So up the top, generally I don't go and hover over the numbers to see how many people are clicking. I just look at the visual patterns. So there's moderate engagement up the top. As we get a bit further down, okay, so there's nothing special happening down here, so that's probably just a pagination point or a false positive. See if there's anything further down. This one seems to be doing pretty well. No, it doesn't look like there's anything too crazy happening. So, except for these ones. So we found something. So these products are receiving a lot of engagement and they're pretty well hidden. Interesting. So there's a lot of engagement further down the page. Seems like some of these products should be up the top. This pattern's really interesting. It seems to me like it's a bit of a false positive, but because of what we saw with the scroll depth, but it seems like people are getting down here and they're really engaging with these products, and it almost seems like an inverse engagement to the way that the products are displayed on the page. So up the top, let's scroll all the way up. Yeah, much fewer clicks on t-shirt, shorts. So it could be, if I just jump over here, could be the kind of products that we're displaying down the bottom. There could be hats, which I know for these guys they sell a lot of hats. So in here, because the screen isn't rendering, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fix this with the screenshot button just because it's too far down the page and I don't think Clarity's taken an actual picture of it. But let's have a look at what products they are. So, trucker hat, hoodies, shirts, don't have as much. Shirt, okay, so there's no real pattern to it, but it seems like escape pant, tech hoodie. So there's a couple of the best sellers that I know just from having managed this store for a while. A couple of the best sellers are too far down this page. So that's it, I've kind of confirmed my theory in that I can see how many people are clicking on these products and they should be up the top just because we want to match like if I look over at the scroll depth again and go down to one of those really hot products. Is that the Delano? Down here. Further down. Okay, sorry, bear with me. Might have gone past it, but it was around here. So we're losing, around here. I think we're losing almost 75 to 80% of the potential viewers before we get to the hottest products. So that's a clear opportunity. So this is one way to use Clarity, and that's to come in with a theory and then figure out how far people are going down the page, look at what they're clicking on, look at where their attention is being given. So if I just jump back to the attention map, I just want to confirm again, if I jump down here, yeah, these were the products that started to see a lot of engagement. So even though the rest of the map is purple, it seems like these products in this area should be higher up the page. That's great. We're going to test that as an A/B, run that as an A/B test. The next way to use clarity, if you don't know what you're looking for, make sure you clear those filters. If you don't know what you're looking for, in my experience, the best place to start is to look at your homepage and your page with the most views. So we just looked at the page with the most views. I could probably go through that process without having a theory that the products were not ordered correctly. You can do the same thing for your homepage. So I'll just show you how to do it for the homepage. So you click on the homepage, it puts the filter in automatically. If you wanted to do it manually, you could click on the filters and then come down to path. I think oops, I put that wrong symbol in there, backslash. So if you just type contains backslash, it will come up with a list of suggestions. In this case, I'm just going to pick the top one because that's our homepage, and then hit apply. If you hit enter on this path selector, it will just add another filter. So you've got to hit apply. That will bring up our homepage, and then we can jump over into the heat maps. And I'm going to start with the scroll depth for the homepage. And we're going to have to change the screenshot because for some reason it has picked the navigation being open. And it takes a second to render. So I'm just going to pause this video for a sec. Okay, so I found one that has a good view and isn't obstructed by anything. So I'm just looking for signs that something's going on. So 100% of users make it past the video, which is great. That's a sign if you're considering redoing your hero that video has pretty good engagement. Keeps people scrolling and engaged with the site. So we do lose a lot of people here though. And that may be something that I could play around with my team. We could test pushing the hero section just a little bit higher so it doesn't take up a whole fold, and then teasing the content of the next section so we encourage people to make it down, because we've lost 50% of users by the time they get to check out the first product card. And maybe that's not the most important thing. I mean, the homepage, the job of the homepage is to route customers down the funnel. So we've got shop men's and shop women's. Let's just see how successful they are in driving traffic to the next stage. Okay, 3.4% of people are clicking one button, which I think is shop men's. Shop women's is getting 0.5, so not the best engagement. We could probably play around with this a little bit. The video is quite distracting, even though it is good engagement, but the fact that people are skipping straight past it and looking down into the features section means that we might be missing an opportunity. Not a lot of people are clicking on these top products, which means they also may not be resonating, but a lot of people are clicking on the categories, even though by this point we've lost a big percentage of people. So one thing we could test is swapping these around, pushing the hero up a little bit, and getting the categories into view quicker so we get customers moving down the funnel quicker. We've also got a repeated call to action down here for new for men, new for women, which is another good way of segmenting. But at this point, we've lost a lot of customers. So if we look back at the scroll map to see how many people we're dealing with, about 25% of users remain at this point. And then by the bottom, by the second half of the page, there's pretty much no one left. So the thing here is you don't want to leave anything important below kind of the top 3 folds on your homepage unless you have a lot of engagement going further down the page. So this is good. This is just brand building. Marshwear have a really strong brand, and a lot of their content further down the page is not really intended to engage customers or like keep them moving down the funnel. It's more like pitching them on what the brand is and who we are. So that's cool. We're not, we don't really need to change anything here. Another way that you can explore potential problems through Clarity is having a look at the smart events. So Shopify comes with its own default smart events, which are compatible with Clarity. And you can look through these numbers and see if there's anything that stands out. So for these guys, they have the standard events like begin checkout, add to cart, outbound clicks, search, submit forms. Some of the less standard events are see reviews, show more, find a location. So these are really important because if you've looked at your analytics and you know that customers who click the see review button are more likely to convert, then you can go and have a look at the heat maps and see if there's any patterns around customers clicking these buttons, and if there's anything you can optimize or if there's any problems with people finding them. The only thing about smart events and the way that Shopify works is you have to pick one page. So this event triggers on multiple pages, but for the sake of viewing a heat map, you just need to pick one page, and 15 visits is not a lot in terms of giving us meaningful patterns to look at. So we'll have a look at it. Most people are clicking up the top, and then there's a handful of customers that are clicking down the bottom. So there's not a lot we can interpret from that, but this is a good way if you dig through your smart events to find other theories on where things are going wrong. So I'm going to wrap up here. Hopefully you've got a bit of value out of this overview of how to use heat maps in Microsoft Clarity. The next video that I put together will be funnels, and you'll be able to combine that video with this one to set up a bit more of a dynamic way of finding what customers are doing on your site and getting a handle for where the bottlenecks are. So thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this, and I'll see you next time.